Hi and welcome everybody to day 4 of the Golf Zone Ledbetter Virtual Summit 2020. This is the second session today. You might have tuned in and listened to Ian Highfield and Sean Hogan today. If you did, we hope you had a great time. We've got a fantastic session lined up for you this evening. So we'd like to thank you for tuning in for wherever you are in the world. I'm Stuart Clayton, Head of Education for Golf Zone Ledbetter. And today we've got an amazing session titled Drive On, Keys to Success in a Lifelong Game with Catriona Matthew. Catriona, how are you today?
Good, thank you, Stuart. Nice to see you again. Yeah, after our lesson this morning.
Yeah, we spent some time this morning and look, we beat the weather just a little bit. It started to turn nasty and cold just before lunch. So yeah, looking forward to chatting with you. And just before I you don't need introducing, but before I introduce you properly, and just for all the viewers today, few little things. If you're watching on the web browser or through the app, you will see a menu bar. In the menu bar, there is a handout to download, which feel free to do. It gives you more information about Golf Zone Ledbetter, about the Golf Zone Ledbetter University, and all the education programs we have for golfers, for parents, and for coaches, and our certification programs, some exclusive discount codes, and more information about the chance to win a free Rapsodo each time you view a session. Talking about winning, Catriona has kindly donated a bit of Solheim Cup merchandise, a valuables pouch, a tea pouch today that is signed. So one lucky viewer will be drawn at random and notified from headquarters with that. So Catriona, thank you for that. The purpose of today's session is really to have a chat about Catriona's career and lifelong kind of success in the game in all different areas. But it's designed to be interactive with you, the viewer. So please make sure that you actually submit some questions. In the menu bar, you'll be able to submit questions there. We'll filter those as we go along through the session. But without further ado, Catriona, you don't need any introduction, but nevertheless, I feel as though I have to list some of the accolades that you've had, and I probably can't list all of them. But if you look at your career, you've won at all levels, both amateur and professional. You represented in the Curtis Cup. You've had 11 professional wins, 4 LPGA wins, numerous Solheim Cup appearances, and a victory in Europe, in Scotland, in your homeland, as captain as well. The 2009 British Women's Open champion. Elected into membership of the Royal and Ancient Golf Club this year. Awarded an OBE. And competed in the Olympics. You've pretty much done it all. So, I think it's one of those things you can think a little bit about your history in the game, but you certainly have achieved something that many, many professional golfers haven't.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate to have a good career. When I first started out, when I first turned pro in 1994, I really just turned pro to see how good I could be. I'd kind of won everything as an amateur and just wanted to kind of progress to the next level. If you'd asked me then, would I have done all these things? Obviously, you dream of doing all these things, but you never quite know when you first turn pro. So, overall, I would say I'm fairly pleased with my career. I mean, I think as a player, you always see where you could have done better, and perhaps, for me, I think probably I feel as though I should have probably won more tournaments. I think I had maybe over 100 top 10s in the LPGA, so just feel I never quite perhaps finished off as many tournaments as I should have done.
Yeah, you're used to playing under the highest of pressure. I've got a little session for us to start with that will put you under a bit of pressure. I've got 9 quick fire questions that I've lined up for you, and I just want to see how they go. And hopefully the viewers will get something from this as well. So we start off with number 1. Who's your golfing hero?
I would say probably Seve Ballesteros and Nancy Lopez.
Describe yourself in 3 words.
It's like a job interview, this go. I would say I'm determined, perfectionist, and probably very competitive.
Yeah. Name 1 thing on your bucket list.
I'd love to go on an African safari, camping out in see all the animals.
Oh, fantastic! That'd be nice. What do you think makes you a high achiever?
I suppose similar to the three words, just the, very competitive, single-minded, probably pretty stubborn.
And if you needed to get better, what one thing would you want to improve?
Putt better. I think as a golfer, you always want to putt better. You always feel you should hole more putts.
Yeah. And if you were to name an interesting fact about you that not many people would know?
Probably my nickname's Beanie. One of my brothers couldn't say Catriona when he was little, and my dad called me Trini Beanie, and kind of Beanie stuck. So I've been called that my whole life.
Yeah. What motivates you?
I think just always trying to improve. I mean, I think that's perhaps why I've had such a long career, always striving for improvement.
And what do you value most in life?
I think my family and my kids.
Yeah. And this might be a tough one, but name your favorite golfing moment.
That is a tough one. I don't know if I could narrow it down to one. I would say personally, obviously, the winning the British Open, especially just 11 weeks after having Sophie, and obviously the Solheim Cup last year, being the winning captain in Scotland, and just the way that all transpired, coming down to last putt, last green. There was no more special moment than that.
Yeah, brilliant. So that's the pressure done. No more pressure for me. I've been lucky. I've been able to work with you on your game for the past 2+ years. I feel honoured and privileged every time we meet. I learned so much from speaking with you and listening to you and talking about your experiences and watching the way that you go about things. And some of the words that you've said there about describing yourself definitely stand out to me. And when I was preparing for this chat tonight, and we spent the morning together today, I said to you, yeah, I'm a little bit nervous here. And you're like, nervous? It's like, yeah, it's one of those things, it's easy when you're on the tee and you're chatting, but when you're doing this virtually, and I'm thinking, if you had to pick 3 words to describe yourself, how would I describe Catriona, having spent time with her? I couldn't come up with 3, but I came up with a whole page full. So a few things for me, and I think these are keys to maybe some of the things that you might talk about as we go through your career and look at questions from the viewers. But you show a tremendous amount of passion, the desire, determination, grit. You're definitely a steely character, and you can see it in your eyes, especially when you're practicing. That stands out to me so much. You've got composure, poise, presence. In a session, you are totally present. There's no distractions. The phone's not going. You're not looking at your watch. Basically, if you're in the room, you're in the room. You deal with adversity, I perceive, very, very well. You look like you're good at figuring solutions out. I think you've been very good at pacing yourself as well. I think you have amazing self-awareness, coachability, the ability to learn, and the growth mindset, that desire to keep improving. A tremendous focus. You understand what you can and you can't control. You have a lot of self-confidence from what I see when I work with you, a lot of belief, and I have a lot of belief in you as well. You're very humble. You've got a lot of humility. You seem as though you've got tremendous sportsmanship, work ethic, and commitment. So I really struggle.
You need to be my PR man, Stuart.
That's it. Yeah. I'm quitting my job. I'm going into PR. No, I think our marketing team would say, Stuart, you'd be rubbish at that. So, but no, they were the things. And I've spent a lot of time with you and around your game, and we have numerous chats. And I think when I looked at your career and did a little bit more research into kind of what you've achieved over the years and kind of some of the areas where you've really excelled, I think all of those spring to mind in any performance sport. And you talked about your favorite golfing moment. You've obviously been a very high achiever, but it all goes back to you developing a love with the game and a passion. And you still live in North Berwick. You grew up at North Berwick on the short course, the wee course there. How important do you think that was to your development at a young age?
I think that was very important. I mean, I think at a young age, I played all different sports. Golf, I just wasn't, focused on one sport. You know, I was lucky enough, my parents gave me the opportunity to try all different sports. Some obviously more successful than others, but I think having the wee course there, you know, I could go and play. It's a little par 3 course. You know, the longest holes probably I think 120 yards. They ran tournaments there. I think they still go on, under 10, under 14s, just all mixed events. So you're playing with the boys, and I think that was where, you know, I think everyone wants to try and, well, maybe I'm just super competitive, but everyone wants to try and compete and kind of gauge yourself against other people, and I think that just started me off on that track. I think if you can win at every age group, that definitely helps. And you know, I had 2 older brothers, and that you know, you're always wanting to try and beat them at everything, so that probably kind of spurred me on to try and beat them at everything I did. So
yeah, no, I definitely think the short course there at a young age when you're just starting out, it makes golf more fun. And I think the key as a junior, isn't it, is to provide the environment or the opportunity for the youngsters to really be able to thrive and see success early on, whether that's hitting a green on a par 3 or being able to make their first par, or then being able to learn to shoot under par because the course is at a distance where they can achieve it. And I think there's a lot of youngsters I see these days where the courses are played probably far too long, and they don't see the success early on, and maybe don't then kind of don't fall in love with the game as much as we all did. And I think maybe by chance we fell into the right environment, had the right opportunities presented to us from what we did and from what our parents did for us, whether they knew it or not. And I think with you know, for us as Golf Academy around the world, you know, we have now a Led Better Kids program, and that's exactly what we're trying to do with that. So you quickly
I think absolutely. I think it's definitely playing a course the length to suit your ability. I mean, I think these par 3 courses are a great way, even just for juniors and for beginners to start the game, because as you say, you know, it's very daunting to suddenly go out in a 6,000, 5,000, 5,500 yard course and try and play. So that really gives people the opportunity to, as you say, try hit greens. They can hit par 3s, they can hit par 4s and 2, and it gives that enjoyment to the game, I think.
Yeah, that's fantastic. You quickly moved on, had a successful amateur career. You were Scottish Girls Champion in '86, Scottish under 21 stroke play champion back to back, '88, '89. You captured the Scottish Amateur title in '91, '93, '94, and the British Amateur title in '93. You played in the Curtis Cup team, so a very distinguished amateur career. And as you grew up and you progressed through the ranks and obviously played at the highest amateur level, what would you put that down to, your development? Was it just that you had that competitiveness, or were there certain things, if you look back on now, that you would give as real keys for developing juniors?
I would say obviously it's a little bit of natural ability, but you know, I was lucky. I started, as I said, playing in these competitions on the little course, and then progressed to kind of county golf, and you know, won a few things there. And then you get into kind of the coaching. I remember Jimmy Hume, the old pro at Gullen. He was one of my first coach. And then once you get into that, then you progress to the Scottish level. So you're always kind of moving up a level and getting more help and more tuition, which I think definitely helps. And then you meet other girls that are playing, because I mean, certainly when I grew up playing here in North Berwick, there were very few girls who played. So you know, you move around and you meet more girls from other parts of the country, and you start going to different events. And I think going away and traveling, playing on different courses definitely helps your game as well as you get better. Just kind of develops your game, and you can learn how to play different courses.
Yeah. You know, fantastic. You talked and touched quickly there on coaching. You've worked with a number of really high profile and really great golf coaches, and you know, for a long time you worked with a coach that was part of the Ledbetter brand as well, David Whelan, who was actually a mentor to me. And I've spent a lot of time with David, and I know exactly what he stands for. And how much of the coaches that you've had through your career really influenced you and your development?
I think it's been a big influence. I mean, I think getting the right coach to suit you is very important. I think you've got to, certainly when you get to that top level, you've got to believe in the coach, and the coach has got to kind of believe in you. And as you say, I was fortunate. I worked with David you know, for a long time when I was living out in the States and playing on the LPGA. And, you know, I think for me, the thing that distinguishes a good coach is that they can make it as simple or as complicated as you wish. Some players, I see some players in the range and they like to know every position they're in and what they're doing, which is fair enough. For myself, I'm perhaps a little more simple. You know, someone would ask me, you know, what are you working on? Or I said, I've made a little change. And then, you know, my coach, David, or yourself would say, oh, that's a huge change you've made. And I'm going, oh, it's just a little change. But I think that the thing for a good coach is to know their player and to know what information they want to know. As I say, everyone's different. Some people like more, some people like less. For me, 1, 2 kind of swing thoughts or things to be working at a time are all I can kind of cope with, to be honest.
No, absolutely. And I think, you know, my role within the Leadbetter organization is to help train the coaches that we have around the world and help certify them in our certification program. But it isn't a method. It's not a one size fits all. And I think, you know, my job is to be as adaptable with our coaches as the coaches are with the students and add value to what they're doing. So I think that's something that we all appreciate as coaches, players, is that every player is different. And I hopefully try and spend a lot of time getting to know you. I think it's a huge thing that a coach has to do, like you've just pointed out, is you have to know the player. You have to know how to communicate with them. You have to know how much information or how little information to give them and at what times. And you know, whether they need a little bit of a boost, they need a little bit of a kind of a kick up the backside, if you like, or sometimes whether you need to just sit down, have a cup of coffee and listen to them. I think that there's so many facets that go into coaching, but ultimately all we're trying to do is unlock the individual's potential. And that's what we try and get across to all of our coaches. And then I know David always talks about being dedicated to learning. So his mantra is, those who dare to teach must never cease to learn, strive for simplicity, and just being dedicated to your sport, to your craft. And you're certainly dedicated to golf. So after your amateur career, you transitioned, obviously qualified for the tour and started playing on tournament golf. And then you quite quickly got your first tournament win. What was that like, and how did that feel, having won on tour, and what do you think kind of got you to that point?
You know, I think getting your first win, I mean, you can be as good an amateur and have won everything as you want, but then it's like moving from primary school to high school. You're suddenly the bottom of the rung, starting in the professional world. So, you know, suddenly you're playing against all these people you've kind of looked up to and seen and watched on television. Suddenly I'm playing, you know, with Laura Davies, Helen Alfredson, Julie Inkster, you know, Pat Bradley. And it is, the first few times, it is quite, you're kind of in awe of them, really, because all you've done is kind of watch them and seen how many tournaments they've won. So I think when you can get your first win, it just gives you that belief and self-confidence that you know, you're good enough to be out there and you belong, which to me, I think is, as a professional, is half the battle, is, you know, feeling as though you belong. You know, I've seen a lot of players who can stand the range and hit the ball, you know, great, and you think, oh, they're going to be, you know, world beaters. But you've got to have that kind of inner belief, I think, in yourself and that self-confidence that you belong out there. So I think that's perhaps what that first win, the Australian Open, gave me. That you know, I think I beat Annika and Lieselot Neumann. I think Laura was playing, so it was against a good field, and it just gives you that confidence that you belong out there, which I think is key.
If you were to advise young players that are kind of competing at the elite level, or the higher end of amateur golf, or maybe just starting out on a mini tour, or they just got their card, given the fact that you've played numerous events and played at the highest level all over the world in individual and team events and in the Olympics, what keys would you give them to help prepare them for that journey ahead?
I think you've got to be willing to learn, but I think you've got to believe that what you're doing is the right thing. You can't keep searching and trying different things if perhaps you have one bad week. So I think you've got to, I mean, I was always very keen practice rounds. I'd always try and play with better players, you know, just watch them in practice rounds. And I think I was always wanting to play against people who were better than me, or and just see what they did slightly differently. And then I always felt that if I'm playing with a Betsy King in a practice round, if I'm then playing with her in a tournament, I won't be quite as nervous when you suddenly tee up with that person. So, you know, I was always trying to sign up with, you know, different players just to get to know them, I think. So then you felt more comfortable on the golf course. But I think the key is not to, for me certainly would be not to complicate things too much. Trust in what's got you there, not suddenly I'm a pro, I'm on tour, I've got to change everything, I've got to change all my equipment. You know, I've got to change the way I swing. I think you've got to believe in what got you there.
Absolutely, and I think, you know, when I watch you, it's you always strike me as somebody that's very comfortable in their own skin. You know your game. Obviously, you played for a number of years on tour, but you know your game. You know areas that you like. You know, the title of the session is called Drive On. I don't think I've seen as good a driver of the golf ball as you. And when I watch you, and even this morning watching you test some drivers, and you know, you stand there and it's like, yo, what do I say?
I wish it was every time.
Just keep quiet.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, you know, playing on tour, and then, you know, you started playing, you know, you got your card, started playing on tour in '95, the start of that season, and quickly got selected for the Solheim Cup '98 with your first appearance, I believe. That's got to be a different type of golf and a different type of pressure environment. Can you bring to life kind of your first Solheim experience?
My first Solheim was the most nervous I've ever been. You know, I'd only been on tour a few years. I perhaps didn't know the kind of established players from the European team really that well at that point. Still kind of a little bit kind of nervous around probably Laura and Helen and, you know, people like that. And then I think I got paired with Annika first out in the foursomes. So, you know, it was the greatest experience, but probably the most nerve-wracking one I've ever had. We're walking to the tee and Annika hands me her golf ball and says, you're teeing off first. So off we trot at Muirfield Village. But I think I learned a lot from that week, actually. Just how to keep your composure on the course. It helped, you know, how to get over nerves and different things. So I think that the more Solheim Cups I played in, the more perhaps I probably enjoyed them. I think just because you start feeling more comfortable. I think it's like anything. The first time you do anything, you're more nervous, but once you've done something once, you kind of know what to expect and you can be a little bit more relaxed.
What was the feeling like? 2003, you played again and you gained the winning point. So what's the feeling to know that you actually gained that point and, you know, got it over the line, if you like?
Yeah, that was a great Solheim Cup. That was the first winning team I'd been on in Barsebäck. You know, I was fortunate enough. I played, I think, 2 foursomes and a 4-ball with Janice Moody, who, you know, I'd grown up playing. We were great friends, grown up playing, played in the Scottish team together, been partners in the Scottish team. So, you know, to have the chance to play with her, you know, in the biggest event in women's golf was great, actually. And I think we won all 3 games. And then I was playing Rosie Jones in the singles on the Sunday. And you know, you can always tell when it's coming down to your game. I think it was between myself or Annika, who's playing behind me, as to who perhaps would get the winning point. And you know, I'm standing on the 17th tee, and suddenly all the captains and all the players who'd finished come rushing onto your game. So you kind of know your one's going to be the crucial one. And I think as well, that was the first Solheim Cup where the crowds just really seemed to explode. We just had, I remember, huge crowds there that week in Sweden. And the 17th is just a dead straight par 4 tree line straight back down to I think the Ora Sound separating Sweden and Denmark. So, you know, I happened to hit a great drive. I think I hit an 8-iron onto the green. Some of the few clubs I can remember. I'm never normally that good remembering what clubs I've hit. I'd hit it into about 15 feet. And I think I must have been 2 up playing that hole, because Rosie kind of missed the green and then chipped up. And looking back, it would have been great if I'd had the chance to hold the putt, but she ended up conceding it. And I remember Sophie Gustafsson running onto the green and just about knocking me over. And then the whole crowd just exploded. But yeah, that was a very special one.
Fantastic. And obviously there's times playing, not just in the Solheim, but on tour, that, you know, you'll have where you feel pressure. That might be kind of, you know, the butterflies or the nerves walking onto the first tee. Do you still get that when you walk onto the first tee in an event?
Absolutely, I don't think that ever goes away. I think I always felt that if you're not nervous, you probably shouldn't be there because it's not important enough to you. So yeah, I think that's the whole thing, is being able to control those nerves. That's what separates the players that make it and the players that don't. But I think you could ask any professional golfer, and they're always going to be nervous walking onto that first tee, regardless of what event it is or how long they've been on tour.
Is there anything in particular you do, Catriona, that helps you kind of just stay calm and get off to a steady start? And, you know, is there anything that's helped you over the years that you found works for you?
You know, I think like anything, it's you do get better at controlling your nerves. But I think obviously it's just my fault. Usually when I get nervous is I start going too quickly at everything. So I always just try and slow down, you know, just take, I'm a quick player, so I just maybe perhaps try and take that little bit of extra time, you know, to really concentrate and focus on the shot before I hit it. You know, just the deep breaths, you know, always take, you know, a couple of big deep breaths on the first tee. And I think if there's, I mean, I think on every golf course you play, there's probably a tee shot or a shot you don't like. So, you know, sometime I remember I think it's the 12th hole Evian, it was the fairways tilted from right to left with out of bounds down the left. And as you know, a fault of mine is usually aiming too far right. So the number of times I've hit it too, you know, aimed right and then hooked it. So I think on that hole, actually, I just wouldn't even look up. I would just pick my little target, you know, 2 inches in front of the ball and line up to there and just trust that I'm going to hit it straight. But sometimes, you know, I'd look up and think, oh, I'm aiming too far left. So I think you learn little things over the years. But I think it's just, for most people, I think they tend to get quicker when they get nervous. So it's just slowing it all down and having one swing thought and having a routine and sticking to it. I think that's when you're under pressure, that's where having a pre-shot routine is very important.
Yeah, great keys for the viewers and the listeners today. So obviously moving on, 2009 was a fantastic year for you on tour. Started off that you actually won in Brazil while you were pregnant. So talk us through that one.
Yeah, that was I think a kind of test event for the Olympics that was going to be there in a few years' time. So went down and played in Brazil. Yeah, I think I was 5 months pregnant with Sophie at the time. And the one thing I do remember is I think I had about a 2-shot lead playing the last, and the last was kind of, you had to, quite a tricky par 4 where you hit to one island and then hit over more water onto the green. And I think I had a local caddy that week with me, and we get onto that tee. I think I've got a 2-shot lead, and he hands me the driver. And I said, oh, no, just gonna. So I think I pop a 5-iron down, then a wedge, and then a wedge onto the green. So I think it's sometimes as well as just, you've got to, if you've got, it's like in match play, if you've got 2 putts, take the 2 putts. So I knew I could make bogey, and as long as I kept out of the water, bogey was the worst I was going to make. So you know, sometimes you've just got to assess the situation and do what's right.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you talk about that, you've obviously traveled the world, and you know, you've probably got more air miles than many golfers. But how do you cope with the travel, the time differences, the different foods, the stuff that young players at a top amateur level and a young professional level will experience? What have been some of the keys that have helped you with your longevity of traveling around the world?
I think you've got to give yourself time to rest. I think that's key, especially, you know, in these long haul flights where you're doing maybe 10, 12 hours and then a 8-hour time difference. You've got to allow yourself time to rest and try and recover. I think definitely trying to eat at the right times. You know, a sleeping pill, I must say. You know, I tend to take the first couple of nights just to try and get into the cycle, the right cycle of sleeping. But definitely, I think it's, you see so many people that over practice before tournaments. I think they forget how important rest and recovery is, rather than just constantly practicing. You've got to listen to your body sometimes, especially as you get older. No,
absolutely, and I couldn't agree with you more on that. I think a lot of players feel as though they have to go practice if they're at an event. It's like, and especially if they maybe didn't play great, or they didn't hit a couple of shots that they wanted, or their range session didn't go great, they're like, I need to do more, I need to do more, I need to do more. And the reality is sometimes you just need to stop and just go back, rest, maybe reflect a little bit and go, right, what is the plan here? So I think that's a huge piece of advice. And
I mean, I think that's actually one of the things I've learned since I had the children, because obviously you didn't have as much time to practice, and but maybe it took me too long to learn that, but that quality rather than quantity. I mean, when I was first on tour, I'd be one of the, you'd start hitting balls, and then eventually I could just about hit myself into playing badly. And now I think it's more the quality. I would rather go and have a good 40 minutes, just good practice, rather than stand there for 2 hours and then you always wanted to hit another one, then you hit a bad one, oh, I better hit some more, and then you start kind of tinkering with your swing rather than just going. And I'm much more focused now, I would say, in my practice.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that, and I think working with you over the past 2 years, even today, there were a couple of small tweaks and one kind of key new thought that seemed to work quite nicely, and that was it. You were happy with that. Go do some kind of approach practice, put you under a bit of pressure, some more performance to get ready for your upcoming tournaments. And I think that's experience as well, isn't it? That this works for me, that's my limit, here's my plan, I'm committed to the plan, but I know that I've done the work I need to do, I can move on, I can go home, rest, and you feel ready. When a lot of young players, they don't know when to hit the off switch.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm one of the worst on the range, as you know. I can just, fire. I've got to try and slow myself down. I could stand and just drag a ball and hit constantly, but I sit in the back of my mind that's telling me I've got to slow down and take a little bit more time over some of the shots.
Yeah, it's
an easy bad habit to get into, I think.
It is, yeah. No, you like to shell a few balls out there. And you talked about, you've learned kind of a little bit more of that since you've had the children. The girls are actually starting to play a little bit of golf now. What's it like being a parent? You're obviously a successful golfer at the highest level. What's it like now helping the girls with their golf?
Well, I suppose like any parent, they don't listen to a word I say. They've had a few lessons from Katie McNichol here, who's here at North Berwick, and I'll try and, can I give you one little tip? And they'll go, no, Katie told us to do this. So all I tend to do is just play and let them get on with it, to be honest. I think you can, at that age, you're just wanting them to enjoy it. You don't want to, I certainly don't want to bog them down in things, but I think I need to get them out playing with other people, because I go and play with them and then I think they think everyone always hits good shots most of the time. So I need to lower their expectations.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, and I think that's it. I mean, we talked a little bit about what we do with our Leadbetter Kids program. It's exactly that, trying to inspire, engage, motivate the children to hopefully fall in love with the game. And we do the same with the Leadbetter Kids coach certification. Is, I think, to teach children, you need to have a little bit of a different skill set to teaching adults. You need to be able to engage with them and motivate with them. And we have some great education material to really prepare coaches to deal with the children. So that's definitely, if anybody's a coach and wants to learn more about that, download the handout or visit university.leadbetter.com. Catriona, in 2009, we talked about Brazil. Then we went on to a momentous win for you. But the week before that win, you faced a little bit of adversity. You faced a little bit of, some things that you can't control. And unfortunately, while you were in Evian, something happened. Can you kind of bring to life a little bit what happened?
Yeah, it was the Wednesday evening. Sophie had colic for the first 8 weeks of her life, so we hadn't slept. So we'd got there to Evian, and they hadn't come with us, so we were enjoying the peace and quiet and catching up on some sleep. Wednesday night, I think must have been about 10 o'clock-ish, suddenly heard this funny sort of noise and wondered what it was. Opened the door and there are just flames everywhere, and the kind of hotel's gone on fire. So we stupidly, of course, panicked, run straight out just in our bare feet. My husband burnt his feet on the kind of embers that were lying on the ground, and we're kind of running around shouting. There was no fire alarm at the hotel, shouting fire. And I think Amy Yang, who was in the room next door to us, ended up having to jump off her balcony, you know, onto a mattress her dad had thrown out. He did throw the golf clubs out first, though. So yeah, that was certainly a different experience before the first round of a tournament, but managed to make the cut there, got 4 rounds in, and then could kind of head off to the British.
Yeah, and the British, obviously a fantastic win, a major champion. You know, you finished 3 under, and sorry, 3 under par over second place, finished with Carrie Webb at the time. It was at Royal Lytham and St. How was that week for you in terms of your preparation for a major? Is that a little bit different for you, or is it always the same as for every tournament? And if you can bring to life kind of your whole experience of that week.
Well, I think over the years, I really started to try and just treat the majors as another tournament. You know, at the end of the day, you don't want to put I think at the start, I probably put too much pressure on myself in the majors, because they're the tournaments you want to do well in. So I decided I was just going to go the same approach I would do with a normal tournament and just treat it as a regular tournament. That week obviously was slightly different. You know, I'd only picked up a club probably, I don't know, 2.5 weeks before that event. I think in a way that helped, though, because I went, being British and playing in the British Open, that's always the one you want to win. So I didn't get a chance to play that often back home in Britain. So I was always wanting, I think I put more pressure on myself to play well and wanting to do well in that event. But that year, obviously, after just having Sophie, you know, I was going in there with very low expectations. No one was really expecting me to, certainly not to win. I went in there thinking, you know, if I could get top 20, that would be a great result for me. So I think in a way, that helped, because I didn't put the pressure on myself. I probably accepted bad shots better than I normally do. Didn't get you know, too hard on myself. If I hit a bad shot, I said, well, I haven't really played in 6 months, so I'm obviously going to hit bad shots. You know, I wish I could actually go in with that attitude every week, but you know, if you've been practicing, it's harder to accept when you hit a bad shot. So I think that probably helped me that week, just going in with the lower expectations and not putting as much pressure on myself as I had done in previous years.
Yeah, I see that a lot with junior golfers and with parents sometimes as well. And I think we all appreciate parents only want what's best for their children, but sometimes you know, maybe the expectations can be set a little bit too high, and they're not in reality with where the player is at that point. And a lot of juniors are obviously going through that whole development journey. I think that is definitely a key that you just talked about, their expectations, and learning to accept if you hit a bad shot, you are going to hit bad shots. We talked a little bit about that this morning with some wedge testing, and you're like, well, you know, out of 10 balls, I know I'm going to hit 1 or 2 that aren't ideal, but it's like, how good is the bad shot, not how good is the good shot. You know, it's still giving me a chance to make par. It's not killing my game, if you like.
I think that's the whole key to professional golf, I think, is it's not how good your good shots are, because everyone can hit it good. It's you know, it's how good your bad shots are. You know, it's eliminating that really disastrous shot. It's I think the best players, their bad shots aren't that bad, and that's the difference. It's not that their good shots when they hit it are any better than anyone else's. It's just that their bad shots aren't as bad.
Yeah, great. So we're going to come, obviously, the major, fantastic. Solheim Cup is a huge part of your life. How many is it now that you've been involved in?
Played in 9 and captained 1. So yeah.
Obviously, captaining in Scotland at Gleneagles. I was fortunate to be there and witness the events that took place right next to the green, and watch everything that happened. You've been a player so many times and competed in the team and been part of it or watched the team compete. How different was it being captain this time compared to being a player?
In a way, far more enjoyable. You don't have any of the pressure on you to try and hit the golf shots. So, you know, I could actually, because people always said, oh, are you nervous? And I said, well, nothing compared to how nervous you are when you're actually playing in the event. You know, I could walk onto the first tee, you could enjoy it, you could kind of soak up the atmosphere. You know, you're not worried about where your tee shot's going to be or whatever. So in that respect, it was actually great fun. I mean, we had some great vice captains and Laura, Catherine, and Mel. We had great fun actually. The chatter that goes on over the radio is quite entertaining at times.
I can imagine. Obviously, the events happen. I got a question that's come in from Brian Fairbrother about the putt that was hauled at the end of it, but maybe not a lot of people know that the Solheim Cup before that, Suzanne was actually injured and you ended up playing. And it was strange. I said to my wife when we were watching the events on the green, I said, this is almost scripted because Suzanne's a really good friend of yours, but also you knew, you picked her to be in the team when she hadn't been playing a lot of competitive golf because she had a child. You took quite a bit of criticism in the press for that, but you stood your ground and you knew that in your heart you felt that was the right thing to do. But Brian asked, Catriona, can you please tell us your thoughts as you were watching Suzanne about to hit that putt?
Do you know, it all happened so quickly. I think with probably half an hour, I think I just watched Anne van Dam maybe half or lose, I can't honestly remember her match. And we were driving down to catch Suzanne's game on the 18th tee. And I remember turning to Catherine and saying, oh, I think we're just going to get 14-14. Just couldn't see where we were going to get that extra half point from. And she goes, oh, no, we're going to do it, we're going to do it. And then we get back to the green and suddenly we hear in the earpiece, just as Suzanne's kind of lining up her putt, that Bronte had won her game. So everyone, all of us behind the green knew that this was the putt to win it. And so, I mean, that all happened probably within 20 seconds, Bronte winning and then Suzanne hitting her putt. But you know, I'd have taken anyone in the team, but Suzanne was the one there with the most experience. And you know, it never even, I don't think I had time for it to enter my head that she was going to miss the putt. You know, I think it was just fated that she was going to hold that putt.
Yeah, brilliant. And to win in Scotland, obviously I live in Scotland as well. I've been here nearly 5 years now. You live about just over an hour away, North Berwick. Gleneagles is a special place. You know, it's had the Ryder Cup there before. It's had the Solheim Cup now. It's a beautiful location set in the valley in the glen there. You know, what was it like to not only captain the Solheim Cup, but in Scotland at Gleneagles? How does that still feel?
I mean, it really was a dream come true. As a European, you don't, I mean, even just to get the chance to captain is a huge honour, but to get to do it in your home country is really quite unusual for, you know, a European captain. So to have that opportunity and for it to be at Gleneagles, you know, I'd won my first event in Scotland as a professional and at Gleneagles on the King's Course. So, you know, a lot of good memories from there. And it's such an amazing resort, and, you know, just the whole ambience of the place. You know, the hotel, just being able to walk down, being on site. We were treated, you know, so well that week. It was, you know, it was always going to be a great week. And then, I mean, I think if you'd watched a film and that had been, you'd have said, oh, that could never happen, to come down to Suzanne of all people, as you said, a slightly controversial pick. And on the last green, last putt. I think obviously delighted that we won, but I think for women's golf, it was a huge event. You know, I think it is the biggest, probably one of the biggest women's sporting events in the world and watched by the most people. And for it to be so exciting and to come down and then, you know, the sun comes out, you know, it just couldn't have been scripted any better. And it's just one of those moments I will never forget, and probably, you know, probably the best moment of my career, to be honest, even though I never hit a golf shot.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The event was fantastic, and a fantastic spectacle for women's golf. And we all know that women's golf needs probably a little bit more publicity, and the golf that is played is absolutely fantastic. I couldn't have enjoyed. I think that's probably one of the best, or if not the best, sporting event I've been to, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. You're gearing up to head out to play at a couple of events. Tell us a little bit about that, and a little bit about, obviously this year's been a challenging year for tour golf and tour life. You know, you've played a few events, but not too many. Where do you think the tour will be heading, or what do you think the tour needs to boost the female game and get it where it should be on the world stage?
Yeah, I mean, I think the LET, I'm going out to playing a couple of LET events in the Middle East in the next 2 weeks. Really, any event that's been on this year has been a bonus. You know, I feel sorry for the players just at the start of their careers. For me, you know, I'm coming towards the end of my career. You know, it's been tricky, but it's not been a disaster. But for these ones just starting out or just wanting to turn pro, it's been very difficult with everything just being kind of turned in its head and not being able to play any golf, really, getting very little competitive golf. No Q schools for any players who are going to turn pro for next year. So in that respect, I feel sorry for these players, and it's been very difficult. For the LET, I think you know, they had just merged with the LPGA, and you know, they produced a really good schedule for this year. So that's kind of been curtailed a little, especially just on the back of the Solheim win. You had all the interest in the LET and women's golf, but you know, I think the schedule's looking really strong for next year. So you know, hopefully, I mean, obviously it's all coronavirus. We'll just see what happens, and if people can start traveling. I think professional golf is a tricky sport to get going because the players are so all international and all the events are in different countries. So just with all the travel restrictions, it's been very difficult. But you know, I'm very confident that once we can get over the coronavirus, you know, women's golf will just go on leaps and bounds.
Fantastic. We've got a good question that's come in, a little bit related back to your thoughts and your technique. So it's from Roberto. His role, he's geared 100% to coaching and performance. And he was wondering if you've always had a consistent swing thought or thoughts, i.e. takeaway, transition, or keys such as rhythm and posture during your victories. And if you have, can you share them?
I think throughout my career, I've always had probably rhythm and posture. I mean, obviously different probably swing thoughts, you know, depending what I'm trying to do. But I've always felt the setup and posture has been very key. So I've always worked on that, and rhythm as well. I tend to get a little quick perhaps in the backswing when I get nervous. But so that's been two probably key constants over my whole career. Swing thoughts vary, you know, month to month, week to week, just depending perhaps what you're working on. I think, to be honest, when I'm winning tournaments and playing my best, I'm thinking about the least. I think when you're struggling with your game, you've got so much in your mind and different swing thoughts, and you know, just trying to get your swing back in shape, that I always find that when I'm playing my best, I've actually got the least thoughts. And probably I'm just thinking about rhythm on the golf course and perhaps one swing thought.
Yeah, no, I know you.
I think when you are playing your best, you get far more into the shot and into the target, rather than it's when you're playing badly that you think more about the technique.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that's a skill for the coaches working with players, is how to help players eliminate too many thoughts when they're actually in that performance zone, and try to take keys. And I think a little bit about the session that we had just before the Scottish and the British this year, and we talked a lot about how your body would work, and then you hit some shots, and you said, actually, I'm just feeling my left shoulder here. I said, it looks perfect. So everything was kind of as it should be, but your key thought was just left shoulder. And we simplified that just to shoulder. So I think it just shows that you have to have that relationship, that backwards, forwards, and find out what the player's actually getting out of it. So
I think you need as well different thoughts for when you're practicing to when you're on the golf course. I mean, obviously you can work more on technique and try different things and have more thoughts when you're practicing, but I think once you get out on the golf course, you've just got to go with that one swing thought and get much more into the shot and where you want to hit it and what kind of shot and shape or trajectory you're going to hit.
Absolutely. I think they're great conversations that I know I always have with our instructors that have gone through the certification programs, is really about that individuality and how you transfer those technical thoughts and put them into thoughts, or embed them into the routine, or eliminate certain areas. And they're obviously quite extensive conversations, but I enjoy them a lot with the coaches we work with. So this year you were elected into the R&A in St Andrews. What does that mean to you? You're amongst the illustrious company as well, with Padraig and Ernie and Nick Price. So
yeah, it's quite a four to be inducted in with, I must say. I mean, very honoured. You know, I've always loved playing the old course. It's been one of my favourite courses. You know, I was fortunate we have a big amateur tournament here, the St. Rule Trophy, every year. So, you know, I always played in that every year. I've been fortunate enough to play, I think, in 2 British Opens at St Andrews. And I've always just loved you know, teeing off in the first, you've got the clubhouse behind you, and then those last couple of holes coming in, you know, over the hotel, and you know, coming down that 18th. And because I think sometimes you go to golf courses you've seen on television, and they don't kind of look the same because they've not got the stands and not got everything up. But St Andrews is one of these courses you go to, and it's just like it is when you watch it on television. So, you know, delighted. I can't wait to get over there and get a few games, actually. You can get a tea time now.
It's a special place. I know, I live 25 minutes away, and it's something I always love to park the car down by the Old Course Hotel there and walk through the gate and up 17 and 18 and into the town. It's always quite special.
I thought you were going to say into the jigger.
That's the other way. Sometimes that happens, Catriona, but we won't tell the viewers about that.
Okay.
As we get to close things out today, we've got a couple of minutes left. Quite apt today, it was announced that you've taken on a new role with Scottish Golf, the governing body for the amateur game here in Scotland. I know I've been fortunate to spend time with you and know how much you care about the growth of golf in Scotland and helping give back and mentor players. And your role, together with Paul Lawrie, is going to be helping mentor the next generation. How are you looking forward to that? And what do you think maybe the challenges and opportunities that might come from that?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. You know, they've had a few good, you know, kind of men coming through in the last few years. You know, we could certainly see we're seeing some more good ladies coming through and breaking through onto the, you know, the LET and the LPGA. So, you know, if I can just give them a little bit of advice, you know, as it's just, you know, I've been out there for 25 years. You know, just tell them perhaps things to watch or to look out for, and you know, just give them little bits of advice to try and help them on their way. I mean, I think that transition from amateur to professional is a tricky one, especially, I mean, especially if you get off to perhaps a rocky start. You know, it's just all, it's a real learning experience. And I think if I can kind of give them some of my experiences, and even if they just take, if I give them, you know, if they just take a little snippet and that helps them, you know, it's great. I'd love to see more, you know, Scottish girls out there on tour, and hopefully some of them beating the records that I've created.
Yeah, Catriona, as always, it's fantastic to chat with you. I think you've given all of the viewers some fantastic keys to take away from today in terms of dealing with pressure, being able to be composed, a little bit about how to train, travel the world, look after yourself. I know during lockdown you've always looked after yourself fitness-wise, but you've been extensively working on your fitness, especially during lockdown, and become quite a Peloton addict. So it's great.
Yeah.
It's great to see
a little bit addicted to that now, I must say.
Yeah. But I think it shows your commitment to knowing that, you know, your health is important, and especially in the sport you're in and the travel that you do, and even.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much more to professional golf now than just hitting golf shots. It's you know, it's fitness, strength, nutrition, you know, psychology. There's so much more, and everyone's always just looking for that little edge that can get them just that half a shot better around, which can make all the difference.
Yeah, one last question before we finally close things out here is the game, obviously we see with Bryson in the men's game, there's that constant search for distance. In the female game, how do you see that going as well? Do you see it heading in the same direction?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the players are all, like I just said, everyone's working out a lot more, trying to get stronger. You just see a lot of the players now are bigger, stronger, and hitting it further. That's the way golf's going, and yeah, the women's game is definitely the same as the men in that respect.
Catriona, you've been really gracious with your time. For all the viewers, we've got 2 talks coming up tomorrow. We have a tech talk with a group of experts and talk about technology. That's a fantastic session coming up. And then we have Pia and Lynn from Vision 54 that will talk to you a lot about developing your golf game, and that is sure to be a fantastic session with those 2. So tune in tomorrow for day 5 of the Golf Zone Ledbetter Virtual Summit 2020. You won't be disappointed. Catriona, thank you for everything you've done for us, for the giveaway and for your time this evening, and obviously your insights to your career. We can't thank you enough.
Thank you. Thank you, Stuart.
Perfect. Thank you to all the viewers, and we'll see you tomorrow.